It wasn't just my team that struggled tonight, Cart. It was a bunch of teams around the country that just looked horrible, to be honest with you. We're recording this in the middle of some of these results, so we're not going to have final scores on all these, but I just want to do a quick, who should be the most concerned out of these teams that I'm about to rattle off to you? Illinois, who was trailing by 7 points to Valparaiso at halftime tonight. Now, give them credit. They won the second half by 30. So they end up winning this game by 23 points, even though they were trailing at the 15-minute mark in the second half. It's still concerning. Should Illinois be more concerned than a team like Arkansas, who just lost to UNC Greensboro at home? The must-bust to a screeching halt right now, 78-72. UNC Greensboro. Or obviously my Michigan Wolverines are in the mix with the home loss to Long Beach State on Big Ten Plus. No one was even in the gym. Did it really happen? Who's to say? I don't know. Those are kind of the nominees for me. And the fourth one I would throw in there, Cart, the Maryland Terrapins are horrendous. 39-15 at halftime on the road to Villanova, to Kyle Neptune and his turtleneck. They're down 24 points at half. Out of that group of four, Michigan, Maryland, Illinois, and Arkansas, who should be the most concerned?
Wait, Gregory, I just want to make this unequivocally clear. That game's not at half. There are 6 minutes left in the second half now.
It's 53-27 right now.
Yes. And that's not a halftime. That's literally with 6 minutes left. Maryland has 27 points.
Who should be the most concerned? Is it Maryland?
It is. Maryland is bad. I'm sorry. I hate it because me and you, we were pulling for the Terps. What's that Tyra Banks thing? We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. And they are not it. They are bad. That is a bad team through and through. I think did we talk about like the wheels coming off a team like Ohio State style?
Yes.
On the last episode. I think that's Maryland. I think the wheels are going to come off on this team. They're bad. They're really bad.
Yeah. Why are they bad? Do we know?
Everything just looks so discombobulated. Like defensively, offensively, Jameer Young looks out of place. Everyone looks out of place on this basketball team. Every time they play a basketball game that I've watched this season, they look like it's their first time playing together. Like nothing works. And it's weird because on paper, I'm not saying it's the most talented team in the country or most talented team in the Big Ten. But for them to be this bad with these guys on the team is unacceptable.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. You're 100% right. It's crazy. It's crazy times.
Like if you're a Maryland fan, are you questioning like Willard?
Yeah.
This has to be somewhat good. This someone has to be on a coach when it's like this.
So if you're a Maryland fan, yes, you're questioning Willard, but also if you're questioning Willard, have you seen Willard? Like what part of this is surprising? If you've watched Kevin Willard's whole career, this shouldn't be surprising. Maybe the style, I don't expect it to be this bad, but goodness, there is always a chance this could fall back to earth, I think. I think the objective answer here is that Maryland is the most concerning because they just look like a team that's not even going to make the NIT. I think the other teams like Michigan still has hope. I think Arkansas still has hope. Illinois, can we just quick on Illinois? Just quick. Why the hell do they why do they keep starting so slow? Why? There's no excuse for it. I know they had no Coleman Hawkins tonight, but to trail Valparaiso after 25 minutes, that's one of the worst teams in the country, Carter. I don't understand what Illinois is doing.
Yeah, well, yesterday we got on here and we did our Valpo and Illini preview, and we talked about defensively what they need to do as far as being connected, getting back in transition, pick and roll defense particularly, and it was a shit show from the start. I mean, they gave up, 30 points to Stafford from Valparaiso. Like Valpo, let's not get this twisted. Valpo is one of the worst teams in the country. Okay. The fact that they were able to even win, the fact that they were able to pull away and win by, 23, I think it was, that's not a good win for Illinois. You should never even be in a dogfight whatsoever with Valpo. The fact that this game was close in the second half is a huge black eye onto this team. You cannot have these slow starts against good teams if you want to be somewhere in March and have aspirations and you want to finally get to the Sweet 16 and things like that. you have to be able to have fast starts because good teams will actually get out fast on you and they won't let you fight back and they won't let you get back. So it's something they need to address. The thing is, I don't know how they necessarily address it. Like, it seems that I can't like look to the bench or anything like that and be like, oh, this guy should start. Oh, this guy should start, or this should be done. It's just that the starters need to straight up play better. Like, you cannot do this at home against Valpo. It's unacceptable. And I feel like I've just been using the word unacceptable with a lot of teams in the Big Ten, like Mike Woodson, unacceptable. Indiana, unacceptable. Maryland, unacceptable. Illinois, unacceptable. Like, this is just, it's something you can't have. And in my experience, being locked in for the start of a basketball game, that's all up here. That's all mental. That's like how you approach the game, how you mentally approach it. And honestly, maybe I think that this team might be carrying themselves a certain way that they shouldn't be. But when you are better than the other team and you know it coming in, you have to be locked in mentally. And that's really all it takes. I'm not saying you can get out to some crazy fast start, but slow starts to me are always connected to how you mentally approach and mentally prepare for games. And to me, that's on players more than coaches.
So you know how like Jerome Tang had the whole pregame like little baby? That's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
we're all in. I can hear it right now, right? What do you think Brad Underwood does with this team in like the final pregame? Like, do you think he just has them all like coloring books?
I'm not really sure what it is.
I think they've got to be playing like, I don't know, like maybe that game where like when you're like a 3-year-old and you get dropped off at daycare, there's like the big like tunnel tent thing that goes up in the air and then everybody like hide. Maybe they do that in the locker room. And then that explains the slow starts. I don't know. They're good in the second half, right? Like if there's a silver lining. I would say if you're using the U word, if you're using unacceptable, I don't think it's unacceptable for Illinois. I think they should be better in the first half, definitely, especially against a team like Valpo. Like you can explain a slow start away when it's Marquette. I think you can even explain a slow start away with like a team like Oakland, who we think actually has a little bit of substance this year. Valpo doesn't. Valpo's horrible. They should have ran him out of the gym from the start, even without Coleman Hawkins, and they didn't. And is it unacceptable? I don't think so because they still won by 23. Like, as long as you get to the end goal, it doesn't matter if it was like a little bumpy. Like, honestly, I'm starting to think I want to see how far Illinois can take this. Like, can they be down 15 with 10 minutes left against their next opponent and win the game? Like, I want to know. They've clearly just like got the flip a switch ability. And I don't know, like Luke Goody was a big part of that tonight. He started pouring in threes, but I kind of want to see how far it can go to extreme.
Do you start Luke Goody? Because I actually thought about that.
No, I like him off the bench. I like him as like a total heat check gunner off the bench.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we next thing? Sorry, Illinois fans. I have to ask, are we concerned of what we're getting from Dre Gibbs Lawhorn?
No, because he's playing 15 minutes. Who cares? Sorry. I care. I do care. I love Dre Gibbs Lawhorn, but like as long as he's not relied upon for a huge role, who cares if he's inconsistent, right? He's a bench guy.
Okay. So you're okay with this showing from Illinois, basically.
Yeah. The second half was great. The second half was great. I mean, I think Gary was horrible tonight, and that's his second straight horrible game. Ty Rodgers, good game, like productive. Damask is, I think you're going to have these Damask nights, right? Like if Damask is your second or third best player, you're just going to have nights where he gets you 7 and that's it. Like, I still think there's a little bit of a limited ceiling, especially without Coleman Hawkins. Like Coleman Hawkins is the key to the ceiling for this team for me, but no, all in all, like you win the game by 23 because you beat them by 30 in the second half. Fine. Okay. I'm okay with that. If we're using the U word, unacceptable, the other team we haven't talked about yet, Arkansas. What is up with Arkansas, man? I don't understand. This team should be good on paper. This team should be really good.
They don't know how to win. They don't. And I think they don't know how to win because they brought in talented guys, but they brought in guys that aren't winners. They brought in Tremont Mark. Tremont Mark is a winner. Really, that's the only guy. I mean, the guys that are already on the team, like Devo Davis and Brazil, have had winning experiences. But I mean, outside of that, it's a hodgepodge of guys that don't know how to win basketball games and find themselves in dogfights in basketball games like this. So I know we put a lot of it on like what is Devo Davis's struggles, but I really don't even think it's Devo Davis because he's not the guy who you should be leaning on. I think I'm looking at the other guys on this team. I'm looking at Ellis. I'm looking at Battle. I'm looking at Brazil. I'm looking at everybody else on this basketball team. And honestly, I'm looking at Muss as well. Like taking a home loss to this team, coming off of some very shoddy performances before this, I think it's a cause for concern. I don't want to bring up the tier word that you used to bring up, but are we elevated about Arkansas right now? Are we?
Yeah, I think we
Because
have
this
to be.
because this isn't a blip in the radar. You know what I'm saying? Like this isn't the first thing. They have struggled up until this point in my eyes. Call what you want. They've gotten away. They escaped with wins, but they have struggled up until this point, and it culminated with this home loss right here. So I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned about Arkansas. I don't know if that win against Purdue maybe got them too big for their bridges or something like that, and everyone started buying into them. But I just see a team right now of guys that don't know how to win basketball games because they have not won basketball games historically in their careers.
Transitive property, the only good team in the Big Ten, Purdue, is now what, 10 points worse than UNC Greensboro?
Damn it.
That can't be good. I don't know. Something just feels off to me about Arkansas. I watched most of the second half of this game. I'll be honest, I didn't watch the first half. I saw the score. I was like, whoa, weird stuff is happening tonight. Let me flip on Arkansas. I had the whole second half on. I thought Tremont Mark was fantastic. And I think Tremont Mark being fantastic and still having this result is really scary to me. Because if you would have told me this is the end result before the game, I would have been like, oh, I bet they just had a really cold shooting night. Everybody struggled. And as a team, they did. I mean, they shot 17% from three. Like that probably is just the recipe here. Arkansas couldn't hit a thing from outside. But like Tremont Mark still was getting his offensively, even without any 3-point attempts going in. And the more I look at Arkansas, the more I just think they only have 5 good players. And now 5 good players is more than a lot of teams in the country have. Like, obviously, tonight's results scream that out loud. But, like, you look at who's coming off the bench for this team. Like, it's Mekhi Mitchell. It's Chandler Lawson. I don't really believe in either of those guys at this point. I know they played a bunch of college basketball. I don't really think you want them on the floor. Khalif Battle is the 5th good player. And I don't get why he's not starting. He's been way, way, way more productive than Jeremiah Davenport has been. But between Mark, Davis, Battle, L. Ellis, and Brazil, that's your whole team as far as good players go. And if we're going through those names one by one, can I throw the T word out that we talk about with a lot of Big Ten teams? Who do you actually trust in that group of 5? Because they're objectively good basketball players. They've proven that over their careers. But if we're playing the trust game, who do you trust out of that group of 5? I don't trust Brazil. I don't trust L. Ellis.
I trust Tremont Mark, and that's it. And that's not even like a full trust for me either. Words like that's like I gotta pick a guy. I trust Tremont Mark, but at the same time, you know, going back to who he was as a player, like Tremont Mark did make a lot of plays for that Houston team, but he surely wasn't the guy that you trusted or was the go-to guy down the stretch, like on those Houston teams. It was other guys.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think Tremont Mark's the only guy that I trust, just from a consistency standpoint of being there. And look, Khalif Battle's leading this team in scoring, and it's coming off the bench, and it feels weird to me. The whole thing feels weird. So, I don't know. I would put Arkansas close.
We also didn't bring this up. Is it a little bit of trap game, a little trappiness in this?
Is that what it is across the country? You think it's just trap game night?
Well, maybe for this one because they got I think trap games are a real thing.
Like, oh, we're all gonna be in the Bahamas in 3 days.
So like we're all gonna be in the Bahamas, and every single thing you're reading about is feast week this, feast week that. Who's gonna assert themselves on feast week? We get to go on a safari before we have our feast week game. Like that's gonna be dope for the IG. Like I feel like there is some of that going on with this Arkansas team in this one. That's the reason why I wouldn't like fully freak out. I think it's a little bit of a trap game vibes to this one.
All right.
I just wish it was against a better team that you lost to.
Concern tiers back. This time you can use numbers though, because I don't feel like looking up the terrorism chart again. 5 being most concerned, 1 being not concerned at all. How concerned are you for the 4 teams we just talked about rapid fire? How concerned
Oh,
are you for Maryland?
5.
5 for me too. How concerned are you for Michigan?
2.
I'll say 3. I'll say 3, but yeah, fine. How
Yeah.
concerned are you for Illinois?
Honestly, 1.
I'll go 1 2. I'm
I'll
okay
go
to
1
let it,
because
I'm okay to let it slide.
fixable issue, right? So start fix it. Just fix that, right?
You did say it was unacceptable, and then you gave it a 1.
You actually had an effect on me on that one. I took a step back.
Okay.
I had to look at it through a different lens.
All
Thank
right,
you.
I appreciate that. I know it's hard to look through a different lens than your victory glasses, which I haven't seen for 13 months. And then final team here, Arkansas. What's the concern level for Arkansas?
Because I talked myself into it being a trap game, I'm going to say 3.
I want to say 4. I don't think
Ooh.
it's as high as Maryland, but I think there's just not a lot to love on this roster. The more that I see it,
I wish it was higher than 5 for Maryland. I think it should be DEFCON 5, like man the hatches. It's bad.
hey, can you just make me one promise?
Mm-hmm.
If I keep podcasting this poorly, just bench me, okay?
That sweatshirt's fire, by the way.
Watch the Sleepers podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. This was extra episodes for you during my misery and Carter's happiness. We love you. We'll see you Monday.